Speak up, you got it.
Is anyone in here that speaks German?
Pregnancy Deutsch.
No one? Okay, well, the music you heard was the first song that we sang in German. As long as I was there, we went to the same church, and this was a song that they sang. I can read it to you, but I can't read it in German. Give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks with a holy one. Give thanks because He's given Jesus' Son. Give thanks with a grateful heart. Give thanks with a holy one. Give thanks because He's given Jesus Christ His Son. And now let the weak say, I am strong. Let the poor say, I am rich because of what the Lord has done for us. And let the weak say, I am strong. Let the poor say, I am rich because of the Lord has done for us. Give thanks. And that song was what we sang in church in Germany. I could sing it in what I just read. I'm glad to see each one in here. Appreciate you coming by just to listen to me, because I'm not a speaker, and I'll do the best I can with what I have to do here. I have a couple of words from Deuteronomy. Let me read that to you. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with thine heart and my soul and all my might. And thou shalt do which is right in the name of, excuse me. And thou shalt do what is right and good in the light right of the Lord, that it may well be thee, and thou nearest go to possess the good of which the Lord said unto thy fathers. Okay. I'll have to, I'm gonna give you a little bit of my life from my start, beginning. I was born in Eastern North Carolina on a farm, and when I went to school, I walked a half a mile to catch a bus until I was 16 years old. And I was driving a bus, and I was picking up kids to go to school when I was 16. When there was 10 of us, I was one next to the oldest in my family, and I was. My mama was helped with a midwife because there was not a doctor close around. So we had a midwife to deliver all the children. When I was growing up, we had a farm, and I worked to help my dad work on the farm. We grew tobacco, peanuts, cotton, corn, a good garden, plenty of tomatoes and potatoes there. When I became 16 years old and drove the school bus for the last year I was in school. And whenever that year ended, I came home to be with my dad and work on the farm. Turned 18 years old, got a letter from the,
Draft.
government wanted to put me in,
The draft board.
Requesting your services.
put me in the service. I went to Fort Bragg, went through the process there, and they gave me a choice of the Army or Navy, and I chose the Navy. I spent three and a half years in the Navy before I was discharged. On my trip in the Navy, I was headed for Tokyo Bay in Japan, and we got almost there, and they dropped that bomb on Hiroshima, and that was it, the end of the war. They turned us around and brought us back to the States. So that ended my career in the Navy because I was discharged. Man. I had an uncle that worked for a Ford dealer. And one more thing about the boats. I was motor machinist on a landing barge that carried troops to the beach. And my uncle knew I was motor machinist, so he asked me if I'd like to have a trip, a job at the Ford place. I said, sure. So I went to work there for a while. And while there, I was connected with a guy in the funeral home, in the funeral business, and he had a secretary that I kind of took up with for a little while. Anyway, I was invited to a party, a girls' party at the time, and I met my first wife down here on the bottom, Mary Lou Williams. She was a Bible teacher in the public school, and she was teaching Bible in school, and when this lady in Washington, D.C. told her she couldn't teach Bible in public schools, so she did not have a job anymore. And along the way, she decided to be a missionary to Brazil. She had a brother in Brazil that was a missionary, and she had her passport pictures and everything done up. And that's when I was seeing her, and this one afternoon, one evening, we were together, and she told me, she said, the only way that I can get out of going to the mission field is to get married. Ooh, I said, will you marry me? She said, yes. So that's who this one is right here. So we married, and we had 6 children together. That's when I was working. This doesn't have too much to do with the Baptist men, but these is what I went to work doing until they sold the company to Bristol Metal, and that put me out of a job there. And one afternoon I was home, and Richard Brunson called me and asked me if I had already done a few cleanup jobs, stuff like that, to help other people. My first church I worked on was a Baptist church in Clarkton, North Carolina. I don't know if anybody knows where that is or not, but it was eastern North Carolina, and I helped build that church. And there was a preacher there, John Moore. He was from Florida, and when I was building that, helping that, I think that he told Richard Brunson, the head of the Baptist men, that I needed a job, and he called me and asked me if I would like to go on a mission trip to Togo, West Africa. That was my first trip ever with the Baptist men, and that was a long ways from here too. And we got there. This thing, those people were tilling their ground with this for the gardens. They make these things over there, and I just brought one home with me. So it's quite an invention. Okay, and on my way, early age, my first car. There's a picture of my first car, and it's an old Chevrolet, about, I don't know, 28 or 30 Chevrolet, and it doesn't look exactly right there now. It's got a possum on it, and a gun on it, and something for me to play with when I was a young guy. I gave a watch like this and a pig for that car. That was my first car. So I had a lot of fun with that until I turned 18, and the government called me and wanted me to go to Fort Bragg to enlist in something. So I went and went through the ages of that, and they gave me a choice of the Navy or Army. I chose the Navy. Where is that thing? There's my picture right there. And I stayed in the Navy for 3.5 years and was discharged. After that, oh yeah, I went to work with his one uncle at the Ford place, and met my first wife at a party. And after she lost her job because of the lady in Washington, D.C., we were living, and I was still working for automobile dealer. And I told her, I said, well, you're out of a job and I need to go to school. And I went to North Carolina State. I came out of North Carolina State, mechanical engineer, and went to work on these things. I fabricated this, this, I built a machine, of my own that to roll pipe. This is stainless steel pipe, and this was rolled by a machine that I designed and made. All the rest of this stuff, all of this was, I cut from flat metal and rolled it up and give it to a welder to weld together. This is process piping for West Virginia Pulp and Paper Company. This is just some more coils. I put these together. I put a lot of this together. And then the company sold out to Bristol Metal, and that put me out of a job. That's when I went to work with North Carolina Baptist men. Best thing I ever did in my life. I went to work at all of these places, plus more. My wife passed away before she finished this. And my last job was Kenya. I went over there and worked on a men's dormitory at a college in Kenya. After that, I went to my wife called Richard Brunson, the head of the Baptist men, and told him that we were about to freeze to death. When could we go to Hawaii? and it was I don't know, 2 or 3 maybe for 4 months. One of the guys called and said, "Are you ready to go to Hawaii?" And Stu said, "By all means, yes." And we went to Hawaii and worked with the Baptist people over there. I took care of the grounds. If housing needed repair, I repaired housing, and the termites was terrible. One of the guys at the Baptist church we were going to asked me if I would like to go fishing. I said, sure. So we had a 24-foot boat, and we went fishing out in the ocean and caught one fish right there, 190 pounds. Nice fish. And we brought it in, and he cut me some meat off of it and brought it to me, and I didn't care much for it, but it was okay. And they see now, after Hawaii, what did I do? Oh yeah, I still work with the North Carolina Baptist men, and whenever I retired from the Baptist men, Sue, my wife, said we need to do something for the Baptist men. And I said we can do that. So I sent the Baptist men a check, and Richard sent me these pictures of what they bought with the money, and asked me if that was okay, and I said sure. Our name is in black letters on the side, all over that van. I have some prints of that. If you want to, you could pass them down and get a closer look. I hope I don't know. Oh, yeah. This is a picture, if you want to pass it around and see it while I'm talking, that Sue and I paid for. And Richard called me after they paid for the van and said they had some money left over. And I said, it's yours, do what you want to with it. Good. Oh man. Now. Anyway, I lost my first wife with a heart attack, and my wife, last wife, Sue, was, I was riding down through Charlotte, and there she was waving at me, Sue, and then after that, she went to Woodlawn Baptist Church, and after seeing her there, and I connected with her, and finally we got together and married. So, but now she had a problem with her aneurysm in her brain and passed away. I lost her. That's good. Oh, she's maybe about 94, 95, Czech Republic, International Baptist Theological Seminary. This is where I worked the hardest. Rebuilt the seminary, went to where they went to school. Church was a local neighborhood. Several joined the church at the time. Also picked up volunteers at the airport every 2 weeks. That's really what helped me so much. Every 2 weeks I had a new crew from North Carolina or surrounding areas that were connected with the Baptist men that wanted to go and help me build churches and seminaries abroad. And we lived in an apartment at the location where we were working. So did the volunteers. And am I talking loud enough? Can everybody hear me? Okay. Anyway, I drove from where our work site was to Berlin and picked up volunteers. Every 2 weeks, I made a trip to Berlin or Frankfurt, Germany, when my location shifted, and I was working on 2 more churches in the area of Frankfurt. That's sugar beet country. A lot of sugar beets being raised there, and had a plant right there close by where they process it. And then, of course, when I went to, anyway, we spent 8 months in Hawaii, and well, the last week I was in Hawaii, a guy at the Baptist church asked me if I wanted to go fishing, and I said, sure. Well, we caught 1 fish. I thought that. Caught 1 fish, 190 pounds. And then Kenya. Richard asked me if I would like to go to Kenya, and I said, well, that's no ways from here, but I'd like to go. And we got up a crew, and I was the head man on the crew going to go Kenya, working on a men's home for men at the college in Kenya. The food there was soup and beans and soup. I don't know if anybody knows what do you call it? It's in the neck of a cow that's white and it's real tough. That's what they made soup out of. And it was kind of hard to chew if you wanted to chew it, but it had that and some beans with it, some rice, and that's what we ate in Kenya until we could go into the little city there of Kenya and get us ice cream cone or something like that. Let me come back to Germany now. When I was in Germany, they had an old woodworking shop there where they did a lot of woodwork, and the Bad Baptists took that building, and I went in it. They had big beams overhead, and the pile was about that high with dirt and sawdust and stuff like that. You could kind of push it off, and it would just like a cloud come up around you. So I had the job of working on the windows. I took all the windows out of the house and did away with them. And it was cold. I think my toes froze when I was working on that building. And we got the dirt and dust out of the building, and then I put in some new plastic windows in the old house. And later on, finished it. Actually, we finished that church to where we had a cross up right front, and a lot of people came on Sunday morning for the opening of the new church, and we just had fun together. It was great. And while I was working on that church, from the bottom, I left my tools down there one night, and somebody come along and stole all my tools. I had some good tools, German-made tools, saws and stuff like that I needed. But I replaced them without any problem. I never had any problem with tools over there. The Germans had a good tools to work with. And I could, of course, I had a van to go to the airport. I mean, every 2 weeks, I'd take a load back and pick up another load and come back to work 2 weeks. And then we were transferred to another church, 2 churches away from Berlin. And I had to work out of Frankfurt Airport, picking up crews there to work. It was all a joy to me to work there, except for the wintertime. It got real cold. You walked on ice, and cold weather was what Sue was talking about. When you going, we're about to freeze over here. When you going to send us to Hawaii? So she got that across, and we went to Hawaii. Well, let's see, what else can I say? He said,
When did you join the church?
Hmm?
When did you join the church? And then the crosses, the easy
Huh? Oh, because I built.
how you joined the church, and then when you built the crosses, talk about those.
Well, she's wanted to say something about the crosses that I built. I built those 2 crosses for Pritchard. I joined Pritchard in 1950, and I've been here ever since. I don't know who's been here longer than that. Anyway, this one is the one that's in the sanctuary over the baptismal pool, and this other one is in the foyer in the back. David and, let me see, where's his wife? Withrow. Oh, she's way back in the corner. She's back there in the corner. They talked to me about building a cross to go in the vestibule, and I said, sure, I'll try. So I built this cross to go in the vestibule. I looked all over Charlotte for wood to build that. No one had it. No lumber company. They told me to go to Lincoln to a factory over there. Said they had it. So I went over there and got all the oak wood I needed to build that cross.
Thank you, Jasper.
Oh, down here is a picture of that I worked on. This was a International Theological Baptist Seminary, and I worked there for maybe 3 years, rebuilding buildings and build a new building, and took care of the property there. International Theological Baptist Seminary in Roussillon, Switzerland, is where it was, and we moved it to Prague, Czech Republic. And Then we moved the library books. I don't know, I guess a million or two of them that we put in the library in Prague. And then I heard later on that they had moved out of there, and I don't know where they were. But we were there for a long time working on that project. This is a Russian girl and myself. We were going to church on that Sunday. Let me tell you a little bit more about the Russian people. Her daddy worked at the church, and there was 3 more Russian guys that worked on the church. And I went up there one morning, and he was there, the man was there, and I said, "Dober Utra," and he looked at me, and he said, "Good morning." Dober Utra is good morning in Russia. Dober den is good afternoon in Russian. The 3 guys that were working, they were working on something, and they had stopped for a break. They always stopped about 9 o'clock for a break. And they were sitting down there, and one of them said something about they were wanting sugar for their coffee, something like that. I asked them, I said, "Well, do you know what sugar is in America?" They said, "Look, I said, they kind of laughed at me like that. But we worked together. The old man, he gave me all dimensions in what is this? I've got a rule here and a tape, and that I always used over there because they didn't have inches. Well, they didn't have inches and feet, but this is what we use. Oh yeah. This is my work hat. According to Baptist men, a blue hat is it's a boss. I was a boss. The others, I have tool caps here, and this was man on mission, and about everywhere where somebody stuck them, put a
Pen.
thing on it. This is International Theological Seminary in Prague. I don't know where that came from. I got so many caps on now. Can't wear all. Everybody needs a cap. Well, did everybody see the picture of the van? Are you still looking at it? I'd like to have that back too. Let's see what I missed here. my son Doug, my two daughters Jean and Marcia, and John. Now John, here's John right here. Did I tell you that? John right here, standing on my head, hand over my head. And I did that at the church here, you know, and there was a lady that was in charge of the babies and stuff like that, and I came in with John or one of the others with my hand like that, and she yelled at me to put that can pen down. So all of my kids did that, stood on my hand. And they all grown up good now. God is the builder of everything. And I can do all things through Christ who strengtheneth me. You can come up here and look at this closer if you like.
Jasper, tell them about the cross in the sanctuary, about what it's made out of.
The cross in the sanctuary, this is made out of stainless steel, and they put a wood backing. The contractor that was working on the church asked me if it was okay to put the wood on the backside. I said sure, but that is a cross I built out of stainless steel, and I brought it over here, and mine is too bright. I said, well, I can fix that. So I carried it back to the shop and put a sandblasting on it, and it's that color now. It's just dull. This is stainless steel, that's stainless steel, that's stainless steel, this is carbon steel.
Jasper.
This right here is Ford steel.
Can I ask him a question?
Yeah,
You may.
Daddy.
Jasper.
Well, if
Daddy.
anybody can,
Jasper.
Questions.
How long did you work at Ridgecrest? You may have to translate.
what was that?
Ridgecrest. Tell them about how long you worked at Ridgecrest.
Oh, Ridgecrest. Well, that's coming up later on this year. That's all I know. I will be at Ridgecrest this time.
How many years did you work there?
Oh my. Whew. A long time. I started to work at Ridgecrest across the street in the girls' camp. That's where we had our first camp meeting from Richard. And after that, we came to the boys' camp after they left and started having it there. But that was a long time ago. My memory is short. Any questions?
Tell us about
Ask 'em.
the Ukrainian people. You've
Pardon?
been to Kyiv and several other people in Ukraine. Tell us about the people there.
Ukraine.
The people,
Oh,
what kind of people were there?
they were nice people. I mean, it just makes me cry to think that I was in there 2 or 3 times working on churches. And the Russians coming in and tore it up.
Okay, you wanna let Daddy?
Nice Russians, and
Daddy, why don't you let people come up and look at the board now, at the pictures and stuff, and you can talk to them when they come up.
what?
Why don't you let people come up and look at the board? It's, we got about 5 minutes probably.
Oh, yeah, you got about 5 minutes in here. Anybody wants to come up here and do it?
I don't really understand it. I teach in here every Sunday morning. I don't have a third of this group. Actually, I do understand it. This is a sign of the kind of respect that this church has for you over the years that you have spent. Look at these mission sites that you see when you come up here. He didn't emphasize enough of the fact that I think you spent 3 years in Prague, didn't you?
I think so, yeah.
Working on the seminary there, and it was just amazing that he was the man on the site that Richard trusted with that huge project in Prague. And I just want to say thank you for what you've done, and thank you for bringing this morning one more time. Show your
I just hope you were able to hear me. My voice is not very good for speaking.
Let's have a moment of prayer, and then you can come up and take a look at these.
One thing before you do that.
Sure, go ahead.
If I can.
Come up here where they can hear it.
Daddy went a lot of these trips.
Come up
and
front.
went on. And that changed his life forever. That, all he wanted to do,
Yeah.
once he retired, is be Jasper.
Yeah.
Jasper was his mentor, his favorite person in all this world. All he wanted to do is do what Jasper did,
Yeah.
and be like a Jasper. And I hate more than anything that he couldn't do it long enough. But he went with Jasper. He went to Hawaii, Africa, Germany a couple
Yep.
times. All those places. And in all the early on, they built churches in North Carolina before all that started.
Yep.
And David would have been the man he was if it hadn't been for Jasper.
Thanks.
When David was around, and if there was something that I didn't quite understand, all I had to do was ask him, because he knew
Yeah.
everything about buildings.
He sure did. He knew it all. Pray with me if you would. Father, thank you. Thank you for such a clear reminder of what it means to live for you. Jasper had careers and family, but he also had this heart for you and for the work that you had in the world. Bless him, Father, and continue to bless us as a result of hearing him this morning, that we might live more completely for you. In your Son's name we pray. Amen. Thank you again, Jasper. I appreciate it.
Sit in the chair.
What's there, buddy? You doing all right?